Being recorded.
Okay.
He's told me he's going to be at his office. Looky there. And that's his office, I believe. I want to know that's our screen. Mike.
Okay, so that should have the audio and the video.
Mike. Any audio?
I got it now. Yep. I had it turned off while I was talking to my traveling buddy.
Good morning and happy snowboarding.
Well, thank you.
What time is it there? 7:30?
Yeah.
How's the snow conditions?
It's been snowing all week, but it quit yesterday. So it'd be nice if it were going to snow, but it's going to be dry all this week. But we'll be in Jackson Hole on Thursday night, and it's supposed to snow a foot between Thursday and Friday there. So that's really good.
Our granddaughter is there working and has a job in a doctor's clinic, but their other job is she works on ski patrol and gets free something. So she's been lamenting the lack of snow at Jackson. They're not getting as much as they would like to have. But now I think recently they've gotten some more.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
And the person I stay with there is my friend that I've mentioned to you before, Andy Zimmerman.
Okay.
From his parents started Casa Bouquet Furniture.
Oh, yes, you did. And I said I didn't know who that is by reputation, but not personally.
Yeah.
Well, it says Scotty Smith on the screen, and he's got a red mute sign by him.
Good morning.
Hey, look at that.
There he is.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Loud and clear. Good morning, Scotty. Where's the camera?
My
Here it
head
is.
was in the way.
I see you, Alex.
Okay, I'm Alex Bernhardt, and this is my wife Ann
Hi,
behind
Scotty.
me.
Glad to have
Hi,
you.
how are you?
This is Misty
Hey, Scotty.
Mayfield, and that's Mike Mayfield on the screen. Calling
Good
in
morning,
from
everyone.
Snowland out west. So,
I'm jealous. I'm originally from West Virginia, so there are times I really miss the snow.
Okay.
yeah. Do you ski or?
I live 15 minutes from Winter Place and never set foot on the property. Just I had other interest, I guess.
Yeah, great.
Enjoyed sledding though.
Yeah. Did you opt to go into your office? I can't tell from your background.
It's a very plain background. I'm in our large conference room, so yeah, it's nice and quiet here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure.
hope so.
Nobody else would be.
Nope.
foolish enough to
Not
say-
another soul here, and it's pouring the rain, so the drive-in was easy too.
Blowing Rock is misty and 40s, foggy and
Yeah.
47, 48 or something like that. So, well, obviously, as I said, I know it, and we appreciate you cutting into your time. And how
That's
far are
fine.
you from your church? Do you want to go? Are you going to leave from here and go try to join your
Well,
family?
I'll miss our services this morning, but we have a good Wednesday night class that I'm a part of, so I'll miss this morning, but that's okay. The rest of my family's there, and I'll catch up with them because can't miss lunch afterwards.
Well, we were thinking that we will kick off here in 7 minutes, and after a very brief prayer and introduction, turn it over to you. And as you said to me, you want it to be interactive and people can raise
Absolutely.
their hand,
Yeah.
whatnot during the presentation. And
I don't have any graphics to put up on the screen. I hope that's okay. I can kind of talk through it, but we'll hit kind of the major categories of our typical design strategies and just our overall approach and things like that. So hopefully it'll be somewhat high level but descriptive and informative. And but yeah, please let it be interactive. Hopefully I can answer all your questions.
That's great. We really do appreciate you taking time on a Sunday morning to be with us.
That's fine. Kind of
And
comes
so-
with the faith-based work. I have an interview on a Sunday afternoon in 2 weeks, so it comes with the territory.
And then we were thinking maybe Misty or I would sort of call time around 10:30-ish, something like that, to have been Q&A, then we ought to at least see if we can generate some.
But if you want folks to ask questions during your presentation, we can also let folks know that that's okay. So it's
Yeah,
your.
no, I think that's fine with it, and hopefully I cover, maybe the questions can be covered during. In other words, somebody might ask a question, then it might be a point down the road, but we can. I kind of have an outline, but we can certainly hop around if need be. So, and if
The
it
other
doesn't look like I'm making great contact, I kind of have my agenda on one side and everyone else on the other. So if I always kind of get bothered by, I always want the eye contact, and it's kind of hard to do that with Zoom sometimes. So the conference room I'm in, I'm in front of my laptop, but we also have a very large monitor on the wall, but the camera is at the bottom. So we're always looking up at the wall. And so it looks like we're staring off into space. It's always really, it just doesn't, I don't like it, but hopefully I'll make some good eye contact as we go.
Well, and our camera is separate from the screen, so it's the same thing. You're gonna see
Yeah.
us staring off into space. We are actually looking at you, but.
Okay, good. I might keep looking to one side of my laptop here, so we'll get through it.
We've also apologized up front by what's probably a meager turnout, but it's the gathering of the faithful. It's people that will be on that really care. And it's
That's fine.
It will be recorded, assuming that's okay with you, and
Yeah.
you can go back later. And we've had a couple of people already say to me, Richard Schwartzel was on the trip, and Missy's Rankin's on the trip, and they go, oh, we want to look at it later. So
Okay.
there'll be other.
Well, we'll just edit anything I mess up on. No, that's fine. My wife at our church used to work in our missions department way back when. And kind of to your point, Alex, you see the same people taking the mission trips. So it's a select few.
Yeah. Hey, there's Kathy Beach joining us.
Yes.
Hey Kathy, hey Coley.
Morning, Kathy and Cully.
Good morning, good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, there you are, buddy. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, Alex, how are you?
Hard to be better. Life is good.
I gotta tell you, I would only do this for Alex Bernhardt.
Oh.
Well, are you planning to come to church?
I'm sorry,
Are you planning to come to church?
I am. I'm gonna cut out about 10:30 so we can leave.
Well, I think I should
Yeah,
have warned Scotty that there are gonna be a few people who will drop off early because they're gonna get in the car and come to church, and
Understandable.
but so be it. And while we're waiting another couple of minutes, Scotty, I wish we'd take the camera around and show you what's going on. We're on the third floor of the education building, and there's a mammoth construction going on under.
Understand. Yeah.
I think I'm probably familiar with most of that.
Yes.
And it's been a long, I think Alex, if I'm not mistaken, we started this master planning for everything about 2020, if I remember, late 2020.
It was during the pandemic.
Yep. So it's good to finally get to seeing something happening. It's fun to get excited about the drawings and everything, but when you finally see things moving around, some dust getting created, that's the best part. Stuff's happening.
A lot of people have had a hand in making it happen, but when it first came up, I said to myself, I wasn't going to say to anybody else, but I said, there's no way this little church can raise that much money. Kelly Charlton, who's on your screen right there, was one of the driving forces.
Yes, for sure.
And then it's pretty miraculous for a church this size to
Yeah.
raise that much money.
Yeah, I think when John told me how quickly, I can say I don't think we've had another church client raise funds as quickly and just the time frame and the amount. So very impressive.
Well, we have some very generous people in our church, including Alex and Ann Bernhardt.
Bottom of the list for us. She's got Judy Lilly joining us
Good morning.
here.
Figured John Calvin would be on this.
I invited him, he's in Florida somewhere. As Scotty knows, John is head of the building committee, and I said to Scotty, in good Presbyterian fashion, we have committees, subcommittees, and subcommittees, and then.
Committee on committees.
Yeah, so we have an abundance of committees.
The committee to create more committees.
John's committee is the primary one that, of course, ADW deals with. It's the building committee, and then it's got to get the blessings from the session, and all that subject to the finances. We got to make the budget meet somehow. So this group today that's sponsoring is a series of 4 Sundays, which are sponsored by the Creation Care Committee, which is how old, Misty? 2-3 years old now, something like that. It's people that,
I think.
people that profess a deep interest and dedication to sustainability, the environment, and God's creation. So we've had a small committee, but good, active, and some hikes around.
Committee meeting with the architect.
Hey, Linda,
Hey, bye.
Eleni,
We're on.
you're on.
Yes.
Great, thanks for joining us.
And Betty?
Betty Womack
Betty
is on
Womack.
there.
There, she's muted.
I think we've got everything working, I think.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for checking in.
Come in,
Come on in.
I'm visiting. My name is Gail.
Oh, hey, Gail, good, welcome.
Come on
Please
in.
come in.
We had a small crowd, so we're not.
Sit in
down
where
the
you.
Oh, no, you sit here. I'll sit back here because I'm gonna take notes. So it'll be good to be in the table. How's everybody doing?
Doing
We're
great.
doing great.
Hope you
We're just assembling online and have
Thank you.
a hybrid version of both in person and
Yes. Sorry.
online. Tell me, we are, waiting a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Come in. Planning, our funerals. Just trying to get ahead, and one of the hymns I want.
Jerry's singing, he might walk the other way.
Here's the one one of the several ones I wanted. This is my father's world. He took my listening ear, all nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my father's world, will rest me in the thought of rocks and trees and skies and seas. His hand the wonders wrought. I think that's for somebody that's a nature loving should be a resounding funeral hymn.
He's trying to settle down.
Welcome, friends.
The proudest gathering.
What say ye?
Let's do it.
All right. I'll go over here. You want to kick it off or?
Oh, sure. Thanks to everyone on Zoom and in the room for joining us for the second Sunday of our Creation Care Speaker Series 2024. This is the second Sunday of 4, and we've got a NOAA scientist scheduled for next week and the Creation Care Alliance Director the week after that. But today we're very excited to have Scotty Smith with us from ADW Architects. Thank you, Scotty, for taking time, especially on
Glad to be
Super
here.
Sunday, to be with us this morning. And I'll pass it off to Alex Bernhardt. He's a member of the Creation Care Committee.
Good morning, folks. If you will, bow your heads and I'll open a prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the beauties of your creation. and for the opportunities you have given each of us to help preserve it. We give you thanks for Scotty Smith and the good works that he and his firm are doing to care for our creation. Let us learn today ways in which we can each do our part in being good stewards of your precious gift of nature and our environment. Amen. And I would only add that it's a pleasure meeting Scotty a couple of times. Man, you got credentials. I met Scotty wearing my other hat, which is on the building committee with John Calvin and others, and enjoyed personally meeting him. Scotty graduated with a Bachelor of Architecture degree from Virginia Tech and spent roughly 20 years with ADW Architects, which is headquartered in Charlotte. And he's a principal in the firm and director of the Faith-Based Design Group. So he's had a lot of range of experience, not only with churches and religious faith-based, but also public spaces and others. So we're glad to have him. We'll turn it over. We're going to have roughly half hour or so, but he's encouraged anybody that wants to ask a question, raise a hand, and he wants it very, very interactive. So turn it over to you, Scotty, with our thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction, and really happy to share a little bit about ADW and our overall approach to just what honestly we call good design, energy efficient, sustainable, and just good principles that we put into all of our projects, whether it be faith-based or our many other sectors that we have here. And as you know, we are the architect for all the mess that you're seeing right now. It's good to see some construction going on up there. And as Alex and I just talked, we've been part of that design process since late 2020 with master planning, and now work on the renovation of the education building, and of course the Rumpel House, which just turned out amazing. We were just so impressed with the craftsmanship and the work that was done on the Rumpel House. And then of course the fellowship hall that's to come, and we'll focus on that a little bit with our strategies as that design continues on into construction and that overall process. So again, thank you very for the kind words. But ADW has been in business since 1977. And I will say most of what we do for many of those decades is are the principles we're about to talk about. Before LEED and green building terms kind of came about, and it again, just good design. We take a very holistic approach to sustainable design and energy efficiency and those sorts of things. And that is partly through a very integrated design team. We use mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineers, those systems in particular, with energy efficiency there. And so we don't have those groups in-house, but they are consultants we use all the time, very experienced. And then I know you're working directly with a civil engineer, and there's strategies there as well with the site. And what we like to do is collaborate with the client and really set an early precedent as we work with the owner groups, the user groups that will be actually using the final space once it's completed, and making sure we set those goals early as to what is good value-based sustainability principles in our projects. And again, tailored to those user groups. And I will say, even from our staffing, we have continuing education in our office almost once or twice a week, where groups come in, manufacturers, and with their products, and we are constantly on the cutting edge of learning about new materials that are sustainable, they're durable, they're environmentally friendly, And so we get to touch and feel all these products when these companies come in. And it's great to get that hands-on learning experience. And then also several members of our staff are actually certified in LEED and with the USGBC, whether they be green associates. There's levels of certification that we can have with LEED and all the way up through building design and construction. And so we encourage a lot of our staff to have a good base to certifications beyond just becoming a registered architect. So several staff that we have are certified in various levels of LEED. What I want to talk about today is kind of our strategies, and we'll kind of break that down really into 5 categories. And I mentioned that one already, and that is site sustainability. We'll talk about water efficiency. We'll talk about energy conservation and performance, materials themselves, and then just indoor environment quality. So I'll start with the site. Now I know with the site we've had, the youth house has already been demolished, so we've got some land there. What we encourage with a lot of our clients is to get some early site environmental testing, if any surveying for hazardous materials that could be on sites, that those can be, if any are discovered, they can be mitigated. There are systems with what we call passive or active that can help with that design if any of those are discovered. With the civil engineer that you have on board, I'll defer to his drawings a little bit. He's advanced in the overall process of the design, as he's had to get things in front of the town of Blowing Rock. But his drawings include a sheet that has ground stabilization and materials handling. And so we want to make sure that the ground is good and secure. As you know, with this design, I think everybody, I hope, is familiar with it. We're going into the ground a little bit. So we're going to have some retaining walls, things like that. So we want to make sure that we don't have any issues with the site not being stable. And then as you go through construction, the materials that may be used, that they're handled properly in case anything there. We don't want to get any leaks into the dirt and into the water and things like that. So he's got a very informative sheet on his drawings that talk about all of that. Another measure with the site civil drawings is erosion and sediment control. And there are plans that show how that is to be controlled during the construction itself. We want to protect inlets so that those things don't get into the water, and just making sure that that doesn't run off into the roads and other property around you, just to make sure we keep that all contained on the site. Another element in that design is also stormwater management. And of course, that's rain and snow and all that is collected. There will be a stormwater collection system that is that will be under the parking lot, the lower level, that will capture the stormwater that's collected from the building through gutters and downspouts, and get that channeled into the stormwater collection system. And what that does is it allows any sediment to kind of fall, and the quality of the water can be released in a timely manner, so that we've got all of that stormwater that's captured on the site is released in a responsible manner, because we are adding what we call impervious area. So we're with the building being added to the site, so that water needs to be collected. Another element with the overall site design is light pollution. There are strategies there where if there's parking lot lighting, that we make sure that there are shields, so we can reduce lighting or that goes up, or what we might call sky glow, and that lighting is kind of held to within your property lines. That lighting is not going over into other properties that may not prefer to have that. And of course, landscaping is always important, and that we have local, regional plantings that are there that may be good for water efficiency there as well. And the other that we liked with your property and just Blowing Rock and Main Street is the connectivity to the community. And so just a simple sidewalk that I know you have the shared parking and where that can be shared for the community, that's always a good strategy of less parking lots. So that's several things there with the site in general that are very good for just the environment of the property itself and protecting property and around you. Any questions with the site sustainability? Okay, well, we'll move on to water efficiency. And this one's pretty quick. This one is really about plumbing fixtures. We look at low flow design there. So toilets that have low flow capability where you're obviously we need those to work well, but the less water we can use there is a good overall use of consuming less water. The other thing there is also with our plumbing fixtures that they're sensor activated. They, once you especially with faucets, they are only used obviously when your hands are under them. So we can control how much of that water can be used, that we're not just wasting water with those. The other thing is also drinking fountains. A couple things there is, again, a lot of our drinking fountains now, we go ahead and include bottle fillers. And so that saves on plastic bottles, things like that. And they're just a thing we put in a lot of our projects now with the bottle fillers. That's just a few things with the water efficiency that we use primarily for conserving water with just good plumbing fixtures that can serve as much of water as we can. The big one here next is under energy conservation and performance. What we have there obviously is we're looking for things that are very energy efficient. And I'll speak first to the building itself. And we work with many building codes, and part of the building code includes a section on energy conservation. And so in the building envelope itself, so all of the exterior walls, the roof, even the foundation, we protect the building with good thermal insulation. There will be insulation around the perimeter of the footing. There will be insulation within the walls and insulation within the roof system itself. And we want a good building. We don't want it tight so much that we want to have issues with low air quality or that nasty word of mold. And so part of the building envelope also has on the exterior is what we call a weather air barrier, and that allows vapor, water vapor to go in and out. We want to make sure we get the dew point outside of the wall cavity itself, so that can drain out of the building. And we have measures there where you have good flashing and ventilation of the cavities, and so the water's not building up within the wall systems themselves. So two major components with building envelope is the insulation and the weather air barrier that allows the building to breathe a little bit.
Alex, may I ask Scotty a question, please?
Sure.
Scotty, I was talking with our insurance agent last Thursday about on another subject, but he sent me an email and said that, and I'm just going to read what he said in his email. Water damage is a leading cause of claims in the property insurance industry. As I mentioned, insurance carriers are canceling policies, raising premiums, and raising deductibles higher than ever before. One preemptive measure that Rumpel may want to consider, and a measure that I recommend, is installing an automatic water shutoff valve. The valve would be installed at the main water supply where the supply enters the building. The valve would automatically shut off the flow of water in the event of a sudden and steady water flow during a specified time. Is that something that your firm is familiar with?
Well, yes, that would be within a combination of the civil engineering and the plumbing engineering, and that is a piece of equipment that's called a backflow preventer. And there are other elements that we can do where we're making sure water can be shut off to the building, that water doesn't kind of get back into the building. Obviously, that's the backflow prevention. So there are elements there and equipment that we can make sure helps with that concern.
So is that being worked into the design of the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I will say where we are in the design of the Fellowship Hall addition, we have begun what is called the design development phase. So we're still very early in the design. You've seen the schematics, so all kind of the pretty pictures and renderings. And so we're just now starting to get into the engineering systems. And so those are things that we can look at and implement into the utility design as part of the site, as well as the plumbing design and in that engineering. So we're still early enough that we can get those things implemented, but a lot of that is pretty standard to make sure that, you know, again, we minimize any water into the building, that we get anything that is in the building out of the building, particularly in the wall systems. So we'll look at all of that.
Thank you.
Hey, Cully, thanks for bringing that up, because it's a good point, and I'm sure the ADWs will do the right thing, but it does bring up the idea about, well, what about the other properties we got? What about Rumpel? What about the Mance? What about the education building? And so now back to the Presbyterian way of committees. I don't know whether that's going to go to the building committee or the properties committee, but one or the other, both of them should look into backflow preventers and automatic water cut off at these other facilities, because many of them are plumbed differently from what the new facility will be. So thanks for bringing that up. It's good.
Yeah, different eras will have different codes. I believe the education building was in the 60s, so I'm sure there were many things that we do now that may not have been part of that back then. But so really just wanted to focus on the building envelope. It'll be again, the insulation is critical. We make sure we look at that. The other part is this is insulation that's not just within the walls. We have something that's called continuous insulation. Particularly in blowing rock, we have insulation that'll be outboard of the walls. But so kind of sandwiched between the veneer and the wall system itself. So kind of that entire wall construction will be very detailed, one for thermal requirements, and then as well as the any kind of water vapor that gets in there, that it is channeled out and again can breathe as well. So things like again, flashing and weeps, the materials on the building we'll make sure are very durable and good and weather protected. So what we have, as you've seen in the renderings, we're looking at a fiber cement siding, which is a great product that we use on a lot of our work, and then the stone base. So we've got good materials that will protect the building very well. The other big component to energy conservation, of course, is the mechanical system itself. And again, a lot of the energy conservation is kind of written into the codes that they use as well, and their standards. And So good, efficient equipment. We have duct insulation that can be either within the duct or wrapped outside of the duct. And there are maximum leakage rates that we look that are required. And so we want to make sure is obviously if you have conditioned air or heat, we don't want to lose that just by it escaping the ductwork. We want to get that conditioned air, whether it's cool or warm, get it to the spaces that it needs. Another element is LED lighting. Pretty much everything we do now is that. We don't use incandescent bulbs. We don't use fluorescence anymore. So LED lighting is good. The quality of the light, the energy impact to LED lighting. I think a lot of us probably have that in our homes now, but that's a pretty standard thing with lighting design is to go with LED fixtures. Another thing is occupancy sensors. And there are a couple of components that we use occupancy sensors on. That is the lighting itself. So you walk into a bathroom and the light comes on. And when you leave, after a while, it'll shut off. So these lights just don't stay on if no one's in the room. Of course, we'll have switches everywhere. You can have automatic on and off switching. Sometimes you have that, especially with exterior lighting, dusk to dawn, those sorts of things. We want good perimeter lighting around the building, and a lot of that just comes down to safety and security of the property itself and people. But we can have exterior lighting on some automatic shutoffs, but interior occupancy sensors again are really it's good to put them in there whether they're required or not, but a lot of times they're now in the codes that they are required. Another element with occupancy sensors are exhaust fans. Again, so you have a janitor's room or a bathroom or a room where just some you need some airflow so that you don't have any buildup of bad quality air, that those exhaust fans are running when needed, but not running all the time. So again, just not using that power when it's not necessary, but again, still wanting to have good air. With the fellowship hall, there's a kitchen design, and usually the kitchen equipment is directly with the church. So as you look at that equipment, I know some I believe is being reused from the kitchen you have, but if any new kitchen equipment will be purchased, make sure that it is energy efficient as well. It may have an Energy Star rating, things like that. So kitchen equipment that's also efficient with power needs. Another here to think about, and we'll kind of keep this high level. We do this a lot with a lot of our public clients. I'll admit not so much in our faith-based, and that is to think about potentially alternative power with that, whether that be solar. We have projects that actually use geothermal. And so digging way into the ground to tap into some heat. But anyway, just some things that we do. But one that is easy with solar is whether you're considering it or not, we will design the roof structure to handle any future loads of panels, put in a little bit of infrastructure as far as conduits and some J boxes, so systems like that can be connected if that is being considered in the future. We like to get a lot of that infrastructure into the current building design in case that is a consideration down the road. It's good to have that in place, even because it's less expensive now to put that in and with some forethought there. So we do that a lot structurally. Particularly with this building design, if you have sloped roofs, we make sure that the trusses are designed for extra weight in case that happens. And so we want to make sure that can be supported. So the next category I want to get into is the materials of the building that we would use themselves and the resources that it takes to make those materials. one thing we look at with a lot of our products that we specify, particularly after COVID, and we obviously went through all the shipping issues and lead times on a lot of equipment were just insane. And so we look for regional materials, and that could be, we set a goal of within 500 miles, and I know that may seem a little far, but that's better than, you know, coming across an ocean or something. And so we look for regional materials that can be used. Those materials we look for also kind of have a lot of certifications with them as well, as far as recycled content. And again, we look at durability and maintenance, and then just educating the maintenance staff and the user groups on how to clean. We want materials that are easily cleanable, and again, very long lasting and durable. And we kind of already talked on that a little bit with the materials that will be used on the exterior, but interior as well, whether that be carpet or tile. With the fellowship hall, there's probably a few different finishes that we'll consider there that we'll put in front of the building committee on the best use of the flooring system that will go in there. Another big one, particularly during construction, is the construction waste itself, and we want to make sure that that gets managed well, and that'll be very collaborative with the contractor that is chosen to make sure that construction waste is as minimized as possible. Collecting things that can be recycled, not just taken to the local dump. So construction waste management is always a hot topic with many projects that we have, and there's the construction industry in general. And then, of course, once you are operating in the building, is your own recyclable storage and collection. I'm sure that we all do our best there. So even once the building is occupied, is having a good system for recyclable materials, and as we talked about with the bottle filler, so making sure that we can minimize bottles and things like that, but we have a good system to collect all of that as well. And the last one, which is really important, is the overall quality of the indoor environment. We look at actually bringing in outdoor ventilation in the mechanical system. And what that does is it brings in fresh air, gets any kind of pollutants and viruses and bacteria and things like that. So having some good outdoor ventilation, there are requirements there that we bring that into the building and have good airflow. The filtration systems on the mechanical systems, you may have heard of SEER and MERV, and those are criteria that are used for setting some energy efficient standards with the equipment itself, but particularly the filtration, that you have good filters that can then capture all those kind of contaminants. And again, good maintenance there, making sure the filters get changed. And so again, that goes back to educating the maintenance group on taking care of the equipment and making sure it's running optimally. The next thing, this sounds really fancy, and that is some indoor chemical and pollutant control. All that to say is a really fancy term for maybe putting a walk-off mat at the entry points. And what that does is it captures, as you walk in to the main entrances. That might be something to consider. So we're not tracking things from outside into the buildings too far. Those walk-off carpet is good to kind of capture things on your shoes that you bring in. And the pollutant, we kind of talked about the exhaust fans, and so that's there too, that we want to put exhaust fans in spaces where you just want fresh air to get in. And that's, again, we mentioned that janitor rooms, bathrooms, even maybe like electrical rooms. So we want to get any possibility of low quality air exhausted out of the building. Another mentioning, I didn't mention this with the materials, but with materials is we also want to look at low emitting VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So again, not only are we looking at materials that might be close and readily available, that are durable, again, with recycled content, but they also are made with good products so that you don't have off-gassing and concerns there with the materials that could cause any harm there. So you'll see terms like low VOC, and so we want to make sure that you have good, safe products, let alone that they're durable. Another thing, going back to mechanical and electrical with our indoor environment, is the ability to have systems controls, particularly with lighting and the mechanical. So not only will the lighting be LED, a lot of times we find it just an easy thing with switching is that your lighting is dimmable. And that particularly, different events, you may want different lighting levels, and you can control that. And a lot of that goes into just the quality of the space, and as well as with the mechanical, you want good thermal comfort. So good thermostats, that they're located well and that people can get to them. And so have those throughout the building, and that spaces can be controlled based on the event. I will say with the fellowship hall, we get into large assemblies, whether that be a sanctuary or the fellowship hall. In this case, we have a stage, and then we have a large space. And so we'll design the mechanical system so that you can condition the stage will probably have its own unit, and then the fellowship hall will have larger unit, so that you're not trying to over size or undersize the space that's being served by the mechanical system. Obviously, with churches in general, they're very heavily used on the weekends, but Monday through Friday, not so much. And so we design those systems to be able to kind of change with the occupancy loads, depending again on the functions of the events that are happening, whether it's a service or obviously a dinner in the fellowship hall, or maybe just a choir practice or something like that. So we can control those. I will say with the kitchen, I forgot to mention something there with the kitchen equipment. With the level of whether it's warming or cooking, one thing that's probably required there is a grease trap, because we want to make sure that doesn't get into our pipes and things like that. So that's collected, and then could be taken off site. So those were the 5 categories that we typically hit on. That again are very simple, kind of low-hanging fruit elements or design principles that we put in. We look at making sure that we're reducing power consumption as much as we can. The overall indoor environment, we want a healthy environment. We want a healthy building, so we have healthy people. So a lot of measures there, and making sure that we have good materials that are safe for people, that are durable, again, easily maintained. We're very conscious about just the efficiency with water, particularly, and power, and many things on the site as well. So I know I kind of ran through that a little quick, but I'm glad to open that up to the floor. I know there were some other items talking about what sounded like some good news with the Rumpel House and some things there. Again, just we were so impressed with the design of or the construction, I should say, of how well that was done. That I think when we walked in that building the first time, it was cold. The windows were not really great for keeping the cold out. So it's come a long way. We're so impressed with that space, and we hope to continue that throughout the renovation and the addition. So any questions for me? I know that, again, that was quick, that was high level, but I think you're seeing we really want to look at how we can look at the site, the building, and then the systems within the building. If you kind of lump it into those three categories, we're very conscious with all three, and in providing a good product at a building that's going to serve the church for many, many years. So we don't want a building that's only going to last you, 5, 10, 15 years. We want this thing to last 50, 70, even 100. So this is the time to think about those things, to make sure those buildings last, and products that last along with it as long as possible to serve the church well.
Thank you, Scotty. Okay, team.
I've got a question about solar. You
Yes.
kind of mentioned that you would consider some, structures to facilitate solar power if we consider that in the future, but should we consider that now? And in a place like Blowing Rock, when we have so many gray days, how do you measure, I'm sure there's a way to know if your area would benefit from trying solar power. I mean, we're not like out west where we've got sunshine 14 hours a day. So how do you decide as a group or a homeowner to even consider that?
Well, that's a complex question. Well, I will say, I know that, that needs to be a further conversation with the building committee, the properties committee. That could impact even how we, design overall. But there's plenty of resources to look at that. Of course, obviously the power company you use. So it's a multifaceted question with kind of what is best for the church, with whether that is a system that should be warranted or considered down the road. But if it is, we can kind of design for that to be put in place later. So I think that's really early now it needs to be a further discussion, I would think, with building and properties.
Scotty, you've done a lot of churches. Are there other things outside of what you're doing for us that churches have done outside of solar?
Not really. I will say what we do see is more alternative power with our public projects. We have fire stations that are all electric. We have a police station that's geothermal. I will say with faith-based work, it's really more about the major components we talked about here. A lot of alternative power sources are not considered very often with faith-based work, and a lot of it is it's cost and infrastructure and what is kind of that payback, return on that investment. So we don't see that a lot with alternative sources within the faith-based sector. But those are the two we do see quite a bit in public sectors, certainly.
More? Hey, John Calvin, I see you're hiding back there on the iPad. You got anything you want to add?
Well, I didn't turn on the video because I'm in a t-shirt, but it's 70 degrees here. So I'd like to thank Scotty. Scotty, I think you did a great job, and it was very well done, and kind of laid out where we're going on the thing. So I think you covered it pretty well. And a lot of the things he had mentioned, we've all had in the back of our minds, and the building committee will certainly consider it because Alex is always there to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Thank you, John.
Another constraint we have really is just the size of our land base, the site itself. We know the parking is an issue, but we look at other churches that have gardens and green space, and we're about run out of space to be creative with things like a
Yeah.
community garden, for example.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
utilizing, we're pretty much utilizing the space that we have, I think.
Well,
I
Alex,
think
if I
so.
could,
Yeah. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
if I could jump in, keep in mind, part of the master planning had that area coming from Main Street between the sanctuary and Rumpel House with the gazebo and a seating area, the columbarium. So that's going to be heavily landscaped, and I think not a huge community park, but it'll certainly be an attractive area for not only the church, but, you know, for people that want to walk through there. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, Scotty, or not.
You beat me to it. That's exactly where I was going. But yes, you know, when we do have larger campuses, you know, whether it be here, we're obviously having to deal with stormwater, as you said, because we have a tight site. It's actually going under the parking. We may have on larger sites, we'll have ponds, and those can be kind of landscaped and screened so that you don't know they're really there. We can certainly make them very nice. We have recreation areas that utilize outdoor recreation ministries are important. So we do consider that, and churches want that with larger campuses. But yeah, a little bit of a tight site here. So I think as John mentioned, that gazebo columbarium right there with all the rhododendrons. I know my predecessor, John, you can probably remember Mr. Watson, I think wanted to take several of those home. So we don't want to mess up any of the landscaping that you do have that makes your campus really beautiful.
Anybody else from home? I always believe it's better to end too early than to end too late. But we're ahead of schedule, and we had a couple of exit already, choir practice and whatnot. But if anybody else, it's a great opportunity. If not, I'll say again our appreciation and thanks to Scotty, and put in a plug for John Calvin and his leadership, which has been really a great blessing so far on this journey between John and Terry Lentz. This church is very fortunate to have people that know what they're doing and know how to be both practical and have a vision for the future. So coupling them here at home with ADW and what they're doing, I personally feel very comfortable that we're heading in a good direction.
Good. Good to hear, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Scotty.
Everybody can get to church early now, right?
Go to church. Hey, come see us sometime.
Oh,
Okay?
I'd love to. I love getting up there every time I can.
Okay.
Thank you, Scotty.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Scotty.
everyone. Really appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me. Hope it was
Yeah.
informative, and
Yeah.
please, if there's any other questions, you, John and Alex, Misty, you all have my contact information. So glad, don't feel like you can't ask a question later, in my opinion. So glad to help any way we can.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Wanda. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.